This report is on the novel It by Stephen King. I gave this a rating of 9 out of 10. The summary is, in Derry, Maine, every 27 years or so, a kind of killing spree goes on that targets the children of Derry. 6 kids are affected by this killing spree but manage to escape it: Bill, Bev, Eddie, Ben, Stan, and Richie. They leave Derry eventually, and a call back by Mike, who was also affected by the killing spree, to go back to Derry and stop what was going on once and for all. A minor character who plays a major and important role in the story is George Denbrough, Bill's younger brother. George is in the story for about the first 10 pages before he's murdered by It. But what happens to him has affected the entirety of the book. George was going through Derry after a rainy day, and he's murdered by Pennywise the Clown. Bill is so upset by the murder that he makes it his mission to go out and find Pennywise, figure out what's going on, and kill him, stopping the murders once and for all. Many years later, when Mike calls Bill, he takes it so seriously that he ensures that every other person goes back. So much of what Bill does now is a direct result of George's death, and that pushes the other characters to make different decisions. I gave this book a rating of 9 out of 10 because it's a great writing style. Stephen King does a phenomenal job writing. It has an easy flow from one character to another as it changes perspectives often, and it also has easy flow from the different time periods. This book jumps back and forth from the time when the children are living in Derry to when they're adults about 20 years later, living in various parts of the world. The fact that Stephen King was able to jump from these time periods so seamlessly and jump from the characters' perspectives while still keeping a flow of the story is very impressive to me. For as dense as the story is, every detail plays an important role, and the characters are animated and dynamic. My copy of the book is about 1,090 pages long, so it's a very long read, which is why I only gave it a 9. Content-wise, it's definitely a 10, but because it's so long, it's going to take a long time to read, and it's great for the summer when we have time. But as a school year choice, I wouldn't recommend it unless you're someone who maybe isn't involved in activities or maybe doesn't necessarily have a lot on their plate and can spend the time to read it, or you just don't mind a long read. Jumping back to his writing style, King is able to show different scenes in the novel while not necessarily changing perspectives, but often kind of going from a single view to an ominous view of the different characters. He makes it so you can understand what Richie thinks while it's still in Ben's or Bill's perspective. One of the central issues is the idea of the past coming back to haunt you. King makes it his mission to prove that the past doesn't necessarily stay in the past. When these Derry residents get their call from Mike 20 years after leaving and after the events that take place in the book, suddenly these memories that they've forgotten for 20 years are coming back to them. They've forgotten Derry completely. They forgot what went on. They just remembered the facts. Bill had forgotten things about his younger brother, but he was able to tell his wife he had one because it was a fact. He did have a younger brother. He just didn't remember anything about him. Once they have these memories, they're flooded with fear, and they're suddenly confused because they don't understand how they could have possibly forgotten an entire several years of their life. Old habits start coming back. Bill had a stutter when he lived in Derry, and for years he did not stutter after he moved out, but when talking to his wife, his stutter begins to come back. Eddie had asthma, and it was very severe while living in Derry, and he didn't suffer from it, but when he was explaining to his wife what was going on, he had an asthma attack for the first time in 20 years. All of them show scars on their hands that they had cut when they made a pact to go back to Derry to stop it. And Richie used to do poor accents, and then he became a radio broadcaster, and his accents got much better. So going back to Derry, when he remembers everything about it, his poor accents start coming back. So it's these little things. The past is literally coming back to haunt them. They completely forgot about it, and now that they remembered this past, it's really taking a toll on them. I would highly recommend this novel. It's been such an enjoyable read. It's very intricate and very detailed. If you like science fiction, if you kind of like more of that horror mystery style, this is definitely very interesting. It takes everything in little bits and pieces before really bringing the plot together and tying everything up. So you're always at the edge of your seat wondering what's going to happen next.